Chapter 23. Monday morning. Bright and early Monday morning, Doreen took Muggs with her and headed to the Pandosy area. The flower shop was located on the corner of Pandosy and KLO, just like Nan said. Doreen parked and walked into the small shop and asked, "Hi, are you Sarah?" The young woman in front looked up. "No, Sarah is my mom." "Is it possible to speak with her?" "Maybe." The woman turned into the back and called out, "Mom, you there?" An older lady came in with some flowers and an arrangement in her hands. She looked up at Doreen, frowned and said, "Hi, were you looking for something special?" Doreen didn't know any other way to start but straightforward, so she nodded and said, "Yes, I was looking for some help on one of your husband's cases." "I don't know anything about that," Sarah said. "He's been dead and gone many years now." "I know," Doreen said, "but unfortunately a case just landed on my plate, so I have to take a look into it." As the woman brushed her hands on her apron, she asked, "What's this all about?" "Ed Burns," Doreen said. Immediately both the mother and daughter scrunched up their faces and went, "Ew." "Wow," Doreen said, "that's not the reaction I was expecting." "Well, the son is very much an ew," Sarah said. "And the father wasn't much better. And I understand the sisters didn't get anything out of the will." "They were supposed to," Sarah said. "Both were supposed to have enough to live off of for the rest of their lives." "So what happened?" "The son produced another will. It was dated and signed, official in every way. And as a newer will, it preempted the older will. There was nothing Ranford could do." "What if it was forged?" "That was the problem, and my husband was trying to figure out how to handle the problem when he died. I figured it was the stress of that case that killed him because he was so upset that Ed Burns would do this to his daughters. Not only are they not fine, but now they're in another equally bad situation," Doreen said, and she explained a little bit about their current living conditions. The daughter stared at her. "Oh my," she said, "that's like white slavery." "Maybe," Doreen said. "I'm not sure what they're doing is anywhere near legal." "No, of course not," Sarah said. "So often these cases aren't. When a lot of money is involved, people get greedy." "Was there nothing to go to the sisters? Nothing in their names?" Sarah raised both hands in frustration. "My husband used to come home every night and talk about it. He was so upset and kept trying to find an answer." "Did he ever come up with one?" "He told them the only thing they could do was try to overturn the will. And yet they didn't do that. He wasn't sure what the process was, whether they needed their own lawyer or not, but he was willing to find out. Except he died and the sisters came to me. But I couldn't tell them any more than I can tell you now. I don't know anything." "The practice was passed off to somebody else. Is that correct?" "He had a partner, and then, when Ranford was gone, a lot of those clients stayed with the other partner. I guess you don't happen to have his files or anything, right?" Suddenly the young woman said, "I know who you are." Doreen tossed a quick glance her way. She didn't want anything to be a distraction at this moment. But Sarah was looking at her daughter. "What are you talking about?" "She's the bone lady," the daughter said excitedly. "Oh my." She looked around for the animals, saw Muggs, and grinned. "That's him. That's him." She came out from behind the counter, squatted beside Muggs, and petted him. Muggs, the complete sucker that he was, lay down and gave her his belly and licked her hand. The daughter fell in love with him, oohing and aahing about what a beautiful dog he was. After a bit, she looked up at Doreen and said, "Do you have the other two with you?" Doreen shook her head. "No, not at the moment. They're both at home." "Wow, I got to meet you." Doreen could see from Sarah's face that she didn't have a clue what her daughter was talking about. Her daughter straightened up and said, "Remember, I told you about the case with the little boy, Polly Shore. who was washed away in the river with the handyman, Henry Huberts. The confusion on the woman's face cleared. Yes, of course. She turned to Doreen. You're the one who figured out where they were, aren't you? Doreen shrugged and said, yes, I guess so. And she figured out about those poor women buried on that sneaky guy's property, and a whole pile of others. You're really famous. Doreen stared at the daughter in horror. I hope not, she said. That's the last thing I want to be. The young woman smiled and said, fame is good. It'll make you rich. Well, I'm not rich, Doreen said. And right now, I'd like to see the Burns sisters get some justice. What about the old guy? The young girl said. Was he murdered? Not that we can see at the moment, Doreen said. She turned toward the mother, who was staring at her daughter in fascination. Doreen pivoted, but she kept both women in her sights while addressing the daughter. Did your father leave any files or information on the sisters' case? Sarah's face tried to shut down, but the daughter wasn't having anything to do with that. Mom, you know you do. If anybody can help, it'll be Doreen. I don't know, Sarah said. I don't think your father would appreciate me handing off files to a complete stranger. She's not a stranger, the daughter said. She's famous. She'll fix this. Well, I wouldn't go that far, Doreen said cautiously. I'm looking into it to see what's going on, and I certainly can't promise to solve anything, but I need information in order to figure out what I can do for the sisters. Come on, Mom, please, please, the daughter said. It'd be so cool. I could tell all my friends. I really wish you wouldn't until I get to the bottom of this, Doreen said quietly. It would mess things up if you say I'm looking into it. Of course, I'll wait, she said, and she laughed. Mom, come on. You've been hanging on to that bloody envelope since forever. Sure, Sarah said. I didn't know what to do with it. What is in it? My husband's notes on the case. As I said, it really bothered him. If you have any information whatsoever about the Burns case, Doreen said, I could really use it. The daughter laughed. Come on, Mom. Fine, she said, but I don't have it. What do you mean, you don't have it? Doreen asked. I don't have it right here, she said. It's at home. Right, the daughter said. I'll run home and get it. Sarah looked on helplessly as her daughter dashed out the front door and disappeared. She's such a trial and such a joy. A late arrival after we'd resigned ourselves to being childless. Then I did marry a man who was 12 years older than I was. She shook her head as if confounded at the way life turned out and smiled at Doreen. She won't be but a moment or two. Do you live that close? Doreen asked. Sometimes it's too close, Sarah said sadly. It's been a very tough decade without him. He was well loved, and he was a great father. All I can tell you is, Doreen said, I'm doing this for the right reasons. Those two women were shafted. And that young man who took everything even now refuses to make sure his sisters are okay. But he's wallowing in millions and millions of dollars that he's not sharing. That young man isn't alone, Sarah said. So many people are selfish. Not all of them though, Doreen said. So let's hope this one, when he's given proof of his father's intentions, will do something to help them. We'll see, Sarah said. I'll give you the information. But I want to know if you ever find anything, or if anything comes out of this. I promise, Doreen said.